Welcome back to the channel. Scotty Taylor Jr. here. This is the #1 place for financial advisors and insurance agents to become prospecting masters and to grow and scale your business to $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per month. I absolutely love recording these episodes for you, and I hope that you love consuming them just as much as I love creating them. And so today, what I wanted to share with you are the 5 lessons that I learned that I really wish I knew. I wish I knew when I started my career as a financial advisor. And so 6 years as a financial advisor at Northwestern Mutual, I hit Live Leader Summit level of production. This is $300,000 of production, over 100 policies. I did 80 new clients. I spent years on the hustle and grind, working, building my business, 20 million of assets under management. I spent years growing my business from scratch, literally from scratch. And when I started the career, I had absolutely no sales experience. I had no, except for, I guess when I was a child, my dad, I don't know if anybody else has ever done this. I feel like this is such a weird thing to do as a kid, but like my dad, during the holidays, there were these little like booklets that you could go around to your neighbors and they could buy like wrapping paper and boxes from you. And then if like you sold a whole bunch of them, then you got to like trade those in for like prizes. I don't know. Is this just me? I was raised in New Jersey, and I'm a millennial, so I don't know if other people did this, but I did. And so I guess that was some sales experience. And I used to shovel driveways when I was a kid. Like when I was like a teenager, I would shovel snow from driveways and make like $50 per driveway. But I don't remember actually selling anything. So needless to say, I had no experience in sales coming in. I have a long background in consulting, and so I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I got my CFA designation, so highly analytical coming into this career. And coming into a sales career, because as a financial advisor, we're in sales. Coming into a sales career like this, where you need to ask for referrals, you need to sell things, all of that was like, what the heck is going on? This was like brand new for me. I didn't know how to ask for a referral. I didn't know how to sell things. Like, I would consider myself a relatively charismatic person, but I would also consider myself very logical, very rational. And I learned very quickly that being logical and rational was not going to get me where I wanted to be as an advisor. So after years of growing my business, kind of doing the trial and error, struggling, working through things on my own, picking the brains of different advisors to achieve success, I achieved lots of success in my career. I did about $490,000 of revenue in 2022, working about 3 days a week, 4 days a week. My financial planning business was doing about 350,000. I was running my coaching business as well. I started buying some real estate properties, started expanding and being a true entrepreneur and really having more freedom in my schedule and more money than I ever had before. And so I share all of that because I didn't start the career. Nobody gave me clients. Nobody was like, hey, here's what you need to do to be successful. And I picked the brains of lots of different advisors out there. But when I started the career, there were no YouTube channels. There was nobody out there with podcasts that would teach me the things that I needed to know early on in my career to achieve success quickly. So it was all trial and error at the time. I mean, there were coaches out there, but I didn't have the money to invest thousands and thousands of dollars in coaches because I just started and I didn't even know what I was doing. So my hope and my intention for this channel is to be the resource that I really needed at the time, is to be the source for prospecting tips, for scaling your business, for like really understanding under the hood of being a financial advisor or insurance agent, like really understanding what we deal with on a broader scale. Because it's okay and it's fine to talk to the other advisors in your office and they're like, yeah, I'm struggling too. And you're like, okay, great. This is a blind leading the blind. It would be nice if I could learn from somebody that was achieving success, but not only achieving success, but achieving success and having freedom and having impact. So not just like making money, but being miserable, but like making money and having an amazing business. So I want to share with you the 5 lessons that I learned. Like, I wish somebody told me these when I started my career as an advisor. These are the 5 lessons that are hopefully going to blow your mind when they blew my mind when I learned them. And we're going to dig right in. So the first lesson that I want to share with you that is something that I now tell all my students. Like, I tell my students this because I think that they really need to hear it, even though sometimes they don't want to hear it. But the first lesson is you're actually not a financial advisor. You're actually not a financial advisor. You are in marketing and sales, first and foremost. So when you become a financial advisor or an insurance agent, wealth management advisor, you might think, I'm excited to help people with their finances. I'm sorry to tell you, but your number one job is actually sales and marketing. Your number one job when you become an advisor is actually sales and marketing. And I wish they had told me this when I first started, because they were like, you're going to be able to help people. You'll work on investments. I have my CFA designation. I'm a chartered financial analyst. I love the investment world. I love talking about stocks and bonds and ETFs and stock options. Like, all that stuff was exciting to me. And so I thought I was going to be an advisor. I thought I would be advising people. Yeah. Little did I realize that the first 2 to 3 years of my career, about 18, 24 months of my career, was entirely spent trying to meet new people, which is sales and marketing. So one of the things that I observed, because I find myself to be very analytical, very, very observant, very curious of success around me. So when I was in my early stages of my career, I was looking around to the other advisors who were achieving levels of success, right? There were a couple of people in my office that were doing really well and achieving a lot of success. And when I looked at them and I observed them, what I observed was, and this is said with a lot of love, they weren't the smartest people out there. They certainly weren't the people that were doing complex financial planning with their clients. They were the people that were really good at marketing themselves, really good at getting their clients to refer the business. And so this switch flipped in my brain, and I was like, oh, I'm actually a sales and marketer. I need to be really good at marketing. I need to be really good at sales. And then the financial advising comes. And so this leads me to the first lesson, prospecting. Prospecting is the number one priority, needs to be your number one priority. And I know there's a lot of things to do in this career. I understand. I know what it's like. You have applications, you have reschedules, you have investment paperwork, you have client meetings, you have feeds lists that you're going to run, all these things. I know there's a lot that you have to do. And if you prioritize prospecting, you will have a profitable business. You will be here in 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years if you prioritize prospecting, if you prioritize lead generation. There were so many amazing advisors that I started with, that I worked with in my career. And number one, I far surpassed them in revenue and business. And unfortunately, some of them did not make it in the career. Some of them ended up leaving the career entirely because they were sitting here thinking, I'm working so hard, but I'm making so little money. Like, this doesn't seem right. Like, why am I doing this? Forget this. I quit. And it's really unfortunate because they were so smart. They were so good with clients. They were kind. They were considerate. They had big hearts. They had missions outside of themselves that they wanted to impact people. But they were scared of being a salesperson. They were scared of being a marketer. And that fear made them pause. That fear made them stop. That fear made them play small. And so my encouragement is embrace it. Embrace it. You're in sales and marketing. Yes, that's great. That doesn't mean that you're slimy or salesy. It just means that you acknowledge that your number one priority is bringing in leads. Your number one priority has to be, how do I generate revenue for myself and for my business? If it's not, then you're going to be stuck at the $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 mark. And you're going to be stuck making that amount of money every single year. And let me tell you, my friends, being a financial advisor or insurance agent, in my opinion, is the worst career to be mediocre. If you want to be mediocre, then you know what? That's totally fine. I'm guessing you don't want to be mediocre if you're watching this video, but if you want to be mediocre, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being middle of the pack. That's not a bad thing. But I think that you'd have a much better life if you went off and did something else. Because this career is very challenging. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort, and you get rejected by people all the time, all these things. But doing all of that without making a lot of money, without impacting a lot of people is like, to me, a deal breaker. That's a no-go. So if I'm going to get rejected, if I'm going to be working hard, I want to impact a lot of people. I want to have a lot of freedom and I want to make a lot of money. Like, what's the point in dealing with a ton of rejection if I'm going to be broke? That doesn't make any sense to me. So number one, and I honestly, in the early stages of my career, I observed this, I understood this, and I applied it. And I made prospecting my number one priority. And if you're sitting here thinking like, I love the planning aspect, I love sitting down with clients and I love helping them, cool. I'm happy that you love that. I love that too. But you won't have the opportunity to do that if you don't have people to talk to. You can have an amazing client flow. You can have your client flow be so seamless and enjoyable for clients and just so smooth. But if you don't have people to talk to, you don't have a profitable business. So number one, you are in sales and marketing first. You are a financial advisor second, at least for the first couple of years. Once you hit, 5 years, 10 years, once you have a book of business, then maybe you can start to pivot and start to transition, right? But in the beginning, you are in sales and marketing. Number one, that's why people fail. They don't have enough people to talk to. That's it. That's literally it. Have enough people to talk to, you will make it in this career, period. End of story. Okay, the second lesson that I learned is a big one, and it's very counterintuitive. And it comes along with this idea of freedom. So when I started the career, I will never forget, and I've told this story before, when I was interviewing, right, because I was interviewing with Northwestern Mutual to see if I wanted to become an advisor. When I was interviewing, I remember my managing director at the time was sharing with me, and I don't know why this story stuck out so much in my mind, but I remember this vividly in 2017. Probably like late 2017. He was telling me that morning I was living in California, in Los Angeles at the time. So he was living in Santa Monica. I was over in Brentwood. And in the morning, he was like, I went for a bike ride this morning and I got my coffee and I got to the office at like 11 a.m. Now, to somebody who wanted to be an entrepreneur who was not successful, I had not achieved a level of success at that point in time in 2017. I heard that and I was like, oh my God, that sounds so amazing. Like, you're going to work at 11 a.m. I used to work in corporate America. When I worked at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, I used to get to the office at 6 to 6:30 in the morning. I would get to the office at 6 a.m. I would study for 3 hours for my CFA exam. I would start working from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. And I would wait until 6 p.m. because at 6 p.m. you could order an Uber home and you could get your dinner for free. Like, that's how cheap I was. Or frugal, let's just say frugal. I was trying to take advantage of the opportunities. But I would work until 6 or maybe 7 p.m. And so once I worked a full, like, I think it was 10 hours. Once you work 10 hours, you were able to buy dinner. Like, you were able to like order dinner. So I would order dinner from the office, take the subway home, pick up dinner on the way, and eat dinner at home. And so we're talking about like 6 a.m. to like 8 p.m. I was at work, right? Between studying, working, and finally ordering my dinner and making it home. So to have somebody tell me that I could start working at 11 a.m., that was like, blew my mind. I was like, what? 11 a.m.? Are you crazy? I would have been working for like 7 hours already, it feels like. So when he said that, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like, I want that level of freedom. And then when I started, I had absolutely no freedom. So I started the career and I thought to myself, I'm going to have all this freedom. I can go to work at 11 a.m. And like, yes, you have the autonomy over your schedule. And maybe there's some meetings that you have with your manager or mentors that you like have to be there for, right? But generally speaking, in the advising career, you have a lot of autonomy over your schedule. But I realized, I was like, if I just show up at 11 a.m., like, nothing's going to happen in my business unless I do the work. And I want to be successful in this career, so I'm going to do the work. And so it was a false sense of freedom in the early stages. And so when I started, I wanted all this freedom. I started the career. I had no freedom. I was working 6, 7 days a week. I was working on the weekends. I was working late at night, early in the morning. I was working all the time because I thought I had to. Like I was like, I want to be successful. So I gotta make stuff happen. And so what I learned after about a year, 2 years in the business, I learned something that really shifted things for me. I learned where freedom comes from. Freedom as a financial advisor or insurance agent comes from systems. Freedom comes from systems. And this is counterintuitive because we think, well, if I create systems, I'm going to create more structure in my business, then I'm going to be stuck in that structure. It's the opposite. When you create more systems, so I'm going to share with you the systems that I created, but when you create more systems, you actually create structure in your business that allows things to happen without you, without your energy. And so now there's two parts of our business. There's the front end, which is, well, if you're watching this video, it's on the left-hand side of this virtual world that I'm creating for us. On the left-hand side, it's the front end part of your business. That's prospecting, lead generation, getting people on the calendar. And so a system for that is a prospecting system. That's what I teach. That's what I sell. I sell my prospecting system that I took and created over years. And I've been trial and erroring and tweaking for probably about since 2020. So about 4 years. I've been working on the system and now teach it to other advisors. And I just hand it to advisors, really. Is like, I'm like, hey, here's my system. Here are the templates. Here are the scripts. Go run with it. So I do all that heavy lifting for you. You still have to execute it. But that's what my Financial Advisor Academy is all about. That's what I sell. I sell the front end process for a prospecting system. Can you create it on your own? Absolutely. Like you can sit down and do exactly what I did and spend hundreds of hours. I spent about $50,000 on coaches. I hired a one-on-one executive coach. I hired a LinkedIn service. I bought courses. I read books. Like I did all the work. I interviewed all the top advisors and I created the system. So you can absolutely do it on your own, spend time and money, or you can invest in the Financial Advisor Academy. You can work with me and I'll just give it to you as part of the package, right? So front-end systems are the first piece. You got to create front-end systems. How can I create a rinse and repeat process to get people on my calendar? If you have a rinse and repeat process that is automated, right? So there's automation components to it. You're getting inbound leads from your clients. LinkedIn is working. Every single meeting you get free meetings. Like it's automated, it's processized. Then you don't have to worry about it, right? It's all done. It's boom. Check the box. Front end of the process is done. I'm getting people in the door. People are on my calendar. Done. Back end is the client flow. And for back end, you just hire people. That's it. Like it's obviously more complicated than that, but you hire people. You don't need to create, there's no like technology that you need to do for back end systems. You just hire people to do all the back end work. You can't hire somebody for the front end. I'm sorry to tell you, but you can pay a coach like me to help you with it, but you can't hire somebody to do the front end for you. That does not work. Right. And this is like a total side tangent that I wasn't planning on talking about. But as an advisor for so many years, I got hit up by all of these services on like LinkedIn. I got emails that were like, we guarantee you. And they're now using AI. Like, I don't know if you can tell this. Like I get ads for this because I'm in the space. So I get ads like, we will personally guarantee you 2 meetings a month with 2 million of assets. And I'm like, what? What is this bull crap? Like, this is so ridiculous that they think that they can get away with that. Like, it actually kind of upsets me and angers me because I know advisors that I've worked with who has started by trying to use one of these platforms or services, and they're run by people who have never been an advisor. They don't know what they're doing, and they're guaranteeing meetings on your calendar. And it just doesn't work, and it costs a lot of money. And the advisors come to me and they're like, yeah, it burned me and now I'm jaded. And then we have to like unlearn a whole bunch of things about investing in things that didn't work. And then I have to like share them my prospecting system, and then they do it and then they can delegate it to their team. But you can't hire somebody to put people on your calendar. Like I'm just telling you right now, because if somebody could do that for you, why would they not just become an advisor themselves? Like it wouldn't make any sense for them to be getting paid $40,000 a year to get all these people on your calendar. If they could do that, they would be doing something else. Like the skill set of sales and marketing, the skill set of prospecting is the value. That's what your value proposition is as an advisor. You developing that skill set will never, ever, ever be a bad investment. Learning sales, learning marketing will never be a bad investment for you. No matter what you do in life, whether you quit being an advisor, whether you end up being a stay-at-home parent, it does not matter. Sales and marketing will always, always, always be a positive ROI for you because you're basically understanding the psychology of getting people to say yes and moving forward. So that was a total side tangent that I was not planning on going down, but I felt compelled to share it. So here we are. And so the number two thing that I learned, the number two lesson is systems create freedom. And this was really, again, a very big eye-opener for me because I desperately wanted freedom early on in my career. And I realized that freedom was just not going to happen one day. Like after the first year, year and a half, 2 years in my business, nothing was just getting easier. Things were actually getting more challenging because my office space was charging me rent and the amount of commissions I was making were going down. My percentages were going down after the first couple of years. And I was hiring more staff, so I had more expenses. So things were actually getting more challenging as I got further along my career, and I was having less free time. And I was like, wait a minute. This is the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. I thought I would have more free time the longer I stayed in the career, and I had less because I had more expenses and more responsibilities. And that's when I learned, and that's what I discovered, I need to systematize my whole business, and the systems will create freedom. And that's what really transitions us from employee to business owner. You go from employee to business owner when you create systems in your business. Okay, moving on to number three. Number three, the lesson that I wish I learned is a lesson that I tell my one-on-one coaching clients. So this is something that people pay me thousands and thousands of dollars for to learn, and you're going to get it for free because you're watching this video. Clients do not know your process until you tell them your process. Clients do not know your process until you tell them your process. You are in control of how you want your business to run. So typically, this is easiest to understand when it comes to prospecting. So what I hear from some of the students that I work with are things like, well, I can't really ask for referrals in the fact finder because I didn't provide enough value. Or I don't like to ask for referrals in the close meeting because it's just too complicated. Or I really only want to ask for referrals after somebody's become a client. And the reason why they think these thoughts, totally reasonable to think this. Like, so if you think this, like, totally understand. Like, I get why you think that, because you might be thinking, okay, so if I ask for referrals in the fact finder, I haven't really provided any value. So my client is probably sitting there thinking like, why would I give you a referral? Like, you didn't provide any value yet. I'm not even a client yet. Why would I give you a referral? Okay, cool. And so you're thinking to yourself, well, that process wouldn't work. Like I can't ask for referrals in the fact finder. But I want to share something with you. When a client first meets you, they have no idea what it looks like to work with you. You know, because you've now worked with like tens, hundreds, thousands of people, you know what it looks like to walk somebody through your process. But guess what? That first meeting, your client has no idea what to expect. They have no idea what your process is. They don't know if it's 3 meetings. They don't know if it's 25 meetings. They don't know if it's 1 meeting. They have no idea. I mean, they probably have some idea that it's more than 1 meeting, I would imagine, but they don't know if it's supposed to be 4 meetings or 2 meetings. They don't know what information you need from them. They don't know anything, right? These people coming to us in early stages of their financial planning lives, they don't know what the process is to work with you. Even if they've already worked with another advisor, I promise you, they're not sitting here thinking, well, this process is going to be exactly the same as that other person. No, they're just like, I don't know what it's like to work with you. You tell me. And this is where the magic happens because you get to tell them what your process is. And this is where you become an authority. This is where you step into authority level version of yourself, where you are telling people, this is my process. You're not saying to yourself, well, I guess we could talk about this, or I suppose we could talk about this. No, this is my process. And the really cool thing about that is because When you determine that this is my process, then you get to ask for referrals whenever you want to ask for referrals. You get to ask for the investment case, the insurance case, whenever you want. You get to ask for bigger investment cases, bigger insurance cases. You get to ask for referrals. All of these things get to happen when you decide the process. So what I am encouraging you to do is to shake up your belief system. So your belief system might be something like this. I can't really ask for referrals until they become a client. Well, what if you shook that up? What if you blew up that thought process entirely and you said to yourself, I ask for and I get referrals in the first meeting? What would that look like? Now, whether you do it or not is up to you. But my point is that your client doesn't know. I could come into a meeting with somebody and say, hey, Michael, I'm really excited to meet with you today. So today's agenda, so I know we're just going to get to know each other. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your goals a little bit more. And at the end of the conversation, we're going to actually identify 2 people that you think would also be interested in having this exact same conversation. Sound good? Boom. I just told Michael in this fake example, who's a prospect, that at the end of this first meeting, you're going to give me 2 referrals. I'm just telling him, this is my process. He could say no, but I'm just telling him my process, right? Telling somebody your process doesn't mean they're going to always agree with it, but I will tell you 9 times out of 10, or even 8 times out of 10, people follow the process that you lay out for them. So if you tell them, hey, we're going to have this meeting, and then we're going to have another meeting where I'm going to present you recommendations, and then during that meeting, you're going to decide if you want to move forward or not. You tell them that, they're going to follow what you say. People need to be told what to do, like 90% of the time, right? People do not want you to show up to these meetings and be like, well, what do you want to talk about? They're like, you're the advisor, you're the expert, you tell me, I don't know. You tell me, what questions do you have for me? You are the authority. Act like it. Act like the authority. Even if you don't feel like the authority, think about your clients. Think about a disservice that you're doing for them. When you sit down with somebody and you're wishy-washy and you're like, so what do you want to talk about? What's on your agenda? You're doing them a disservice because they're sitting there thinking to themselves, is this person even really an advisor? Like, am I the first person they've ever worked with? No, when you show up, like when I go to a doctor's office, right? I go to my orthodontist. So I still have Invisalign. After my jaw surgery from like a year and a half ago, we're almost done with Invisalign, fingers crossed. But when I go into my orthodontist office, the dental hygienist, the woman, she like walks me back. She's like, hi, Scotty, sit down here, open your mouth. She's not like, so what do you want to do today? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. You're the expert. The orthodontist, when she comes over, she's not like, so do you want to do more Invisalign or should we just stop? No, she's like, hey, you have 12 more trays, and then we're going to fix this, we're going to fix this, and you'll be good. I'm like, amazing. Thank you. That's what I'm paying you for. You are the expert. You tell me what your process is. When I leave my orthodontist office, who I absolutely adore, she is like the consummate professional. I love her office. They're so smooth. They're so efficient. I leave that office feeling so confident because they walked me through a process. They're like, do you need parking validation? I'm like, yes or no. Great. Sign in here. Great. Sign in here. Boom. I immediately go back there. Once I go back there, they fill out, they do whatever they need to do and they push some buttons. I go back to the front of the desk, Okay, you need to come back in 6 weeks. When are you free? Monday the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't have to think. I'm not sitting here thinking, hey, when do I need to come back? And they're like, well, I don't know. When do you want to come back? I'm like, I don't know. You're the orthodontist. You're the expert. So hopefully I've drilled this point home that you are the expert. You decide your process. Okay, moving on to number 4 so that I don't talk about this forever. I want to keep this video to a somewhat reasonable length. Number 4 is this business is lonely. This business is lonely. And the reason I'm still here, the reason I made it as an advisor, the reason I'm talking to you right now is because I had a friend in the business that I could lean on for support. And so my 4th lesson, the 4th thing that I wish I knew, well, I did learn, but I want to share with you is that I want you to consider pairing up with somebody, finding a friend, a true friend, not just a business acquaintance, a true friend that you can call at all hours of the day to tell them, this is crappy. I do not feel good. I cried a lot my first year as an advisor. I cried a lot my first 2 years. I cried all the time. I was stressed out. I felt really overworked. I felt hopeless at times. I felt completely lost. I had no idea what I was doing. And finding a partner, finding somebody, so in this case, it was my best friend. She helped me start the career. So she recruited me. So she recruited me. I would say she introduced me to the career, but my dad was an advisor for years. So I kind of already had an idea. So she didn't like convince me to start, but she was basically like, if you start, I'll be able to help you and support you. And she was like, I think 7 years in her business when I started. So she had already had some experience. And so I would consider she was my mentor early on in my career. Eventually we became like partners once I had learned enough. But like for the first 12 months, I didn't really know what I was doing. And so I leaned on her a lot for emotional and physical support, not like physical support, but like emotional support to like help me through like the challenging days, but then also help me with some of the strategies and tactics. So if you're early on in this career, my encouragement is to find a mentor, find somebody that you can lean on. Maybe you're paying them, maybe they're just a friend, but my encouragement is to find somebody that you can lean on when times are tough, that can help you and shift your emotional state when you're feeling lonely. Because this business is challenging and this business is lonely. And while you might be in an office and maybe you're on a team, when it comes down to it, if you don't have like one person to talk to on a Thursday night at like 7 p.m., if it's like a business associate or your managing partner or director or whoever's the head of your office, if you can't call them when you're feeling stressed out on a Thursday night, then you need somebody else. Or maybe you try to change that relationship and make it more personal. But I will tell you, I know that you're gonna go through dark days. Like, if you don't, then amazing. But like, I don't know any advisor that's never dealt with stress, with dealt with a client saying no, with somebody cursing them out, with somebody saying like this was, terrible advice, complaining, canceling last minute, no showing, having a crappy week, have an amazing week. There are emotional highs and lows in this career. It's a roller coaster sometimes, at least early on. The roller coaster levels out when you have systems in place, but early on, get a mentor, get a partner. Last but not least, the number 5 thing, and this is probably the biggest lesson. I mean, they're all big lessons, but this is the biggest lesson for anybody that's feeling stuck, because I would say about 85 to 90% of the advisors that I talk to make this mistake. About 85 to 90% of the people that I have conversations with, that I coach, that I work with, that are in my programs, that I have conversations with, make this mistake. Stop focusing on the outcome and focus on the activities. I'm going to say that again for all of you in the back. Stop focusing on the outcome. The outcome is production, new clients, lives, revenue, meetings booked, all of those, how many leads I got, those are outcomes. All of those are outcomes. Focus on activities. Activities, 30 dials today. I'm sending out 5 emails today. I'm practicing my prospecting language for an hour. I'm sending out 25 messages on LinkedIn. I'm emailing 3 people to book a speaking event. Those are activities. The reason why so many people feel stuck, right? So I'm gonna describe a scenario for you. Let me know if this sounds familiar. So it's Wednesday, right? Wednesday at 3 p.m. And you had a meeting, you had a fact finder or a discovery conversation at 3 p.m. and they just rescheduled. They just were like, so sorry, I'm running late on my meeting. I need to reschedule. So you have one more meeting at 5 p.m. and you were like really looking forward to that 3 p.m. meeting, but they canceled and you're like, okay, I'm feeling a little defeated, but it's fine. But I have a meeting at 5 p.m. So now I have 2 hours. I have 2 hours to work on something. So you look at your to-do list and you have case noting from the last meeting. You have to prep for your meeting for tomorrow. You have 25 unread emails. Your apartment or your house, you have to pay your water bill. You're like, okay, well, what do I need to do? I need to book more people on my calendar, right? Okay, so I need to book more people on my calendar. So I need to dial people. Okay, so let me look at my dial list. So my dial list, how many people? Well, I don't have enough people here, so I need to prospect. Okay, what should I do to prospect? All of a sudden, you are spinning out. You are feeling really burnt out. Your mind is like, what is going on? That, my friends, happens when you focus on outcomes and not activities. Because you're thinking to yourself, I need to book 5 discovery conversations this week, 5 fact finders this week. I got to do $20,000 of production. I got to do $10,000 of production. I got to bring over $1 million of assets. All of those things are things that are outside of your control. And when you try to control things that are outside of your control, you end up spinning out. You end up creating a lot of stress and anxiety because you cannot control them. You cannot control how many assets you bring over in a month. You can't. You cannot force anybody to bring money over to you. All you can do is focus on activities. How many phone calls do I need to make today? How many emails am I going to send out today? How many messages on Facebook am I going to do? How many emails am I going to send to my clients to ask them for referrals? Those are things that you have control over. And so what I observed and what I recognize, and this is still to this day, 2018 to 2024, 8 years later, is when I focus on activities, life feels amazing. When I focus on outcomes, I feel really stressed. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I'm not making enough progress. That's it, my friends. Those are the 5 lessons that I wanted to share with you during today's video, during today's update. I hope this was extremely helpful for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love if you hit the subscribe button. So I'm growing my YouTube channel, as you can see, and I love creating these videos. And when you hit subscribe, it really helps me know that you're interested in hearing more about this. And again, there's no resources out there that I've observed that are people that are helping advisors grow their business and scale their business, that are on YouTube and on Instagram and TikTok, that are in the social media platforms that are providing advice and guidance to people. And if you're interested in learning more about working with me in my signature program, the Financial Advisor Academy, the best thing that you can do is join my free training. So I'll put the link below, but it's www.scottytaylorjr.com/prospecting-system. So the link will be below. In the training, I share with you more about my prospecting system. I share with you more what it's like to work together, the investment, all that good stuff. You can join the training. It's free. Even if you decide not to sign up for the Financial Advisor Academy, you'll still get a ton of value. I still go deep into my prospecting system. I really should charge for the training, but I don't. It's free. And so you can come and join me, and we do live training. So it'll be really fun. So again, that link will be in the show notes. You can check that out. Again, hit subscribe if you like this video, if you want more of these videos. I really, really, really do appreciate it. It's just a small way that you can support me and the channel and the work that I do. I hope you have an incredible day, my friends. I love you. I support you. I hope you have a massively successful day, and I'll talk to you soon.